So now that we have studied what is HDL, what is LDL, we will try to understand what is the difference between the HDL cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. So you know that both of these are the lipoproteins. These are the vans which are used to carry your cholesterol and triglycerides. But HDL is called as the good cholesterol and LDL is called as the bad cholesterol. So let us see what are a few of the differences. Coming to the density, this is the name itself suggests that it is a high density cholesterol. So it is made up of 50% protein. That is why it is very dense. It is very compact. The diameter of this is only 10 nanometer, but it is very densely packed structure. That is why this is called as high density lipoprotein. Whereas low density lipoprotein is made up of more of a cholesterol, less of proteins. So it is less dense compared to that of the HDL. So now HDL is known as the good cholesterol. Why? Because HDL acts as a good cop. It is a policeman which cleans up the city. So HDL will clear up the excess of cholesterol, cholesterol remnant, chylomicron remnant, etc. It clears up from the cells and tissues and it gets it back to the liver. And liver then excretes it through our stools via bile. Whereas LDL cholesterol is called as a bad cholesterol. Why is it called as a bad cholesterol? Because this van will bring and give the cells the cholesterol. It will load the cells with this cholesterol. So it is making the cells fat. And if this becomes excess, this extra cholesterol will start the inflammation, atherosclerosis, and cause heart disease, your stroke, paralysis, peripheral vascular disease, etc. That is why this is called as the bad cholesterol. So HDL cholesterol, if it is high, it will reduce the risk of heart disease and stroke and peripheral vascular disease. Whereas LDL cholesterol, if it is high, it will increase the risk of heart disease, stroke and peripheral vascular disease. We want the HDL cholesterol level to be high. We want it more than 60 milligram per deciliter. Or at least we want that in a male it should be more than 40 and in a female it should be more than 50 milligram per deciliter. Whereas LDL cholesterol we want it to be lower. In a normal individual we want it to be less than 100 milligram per deciliter. And suppose if the person has already an heart attack or a stroke or an stent placement, we want the LDL cholesterol to be still low, less than 70, less than 50 milligram per deciliter. So the normal range I have already told you, optimum would be more than 60 milligram per deciliter, that is cardioprotective, and below 100 mg per deciliter we want the LDL. And the composition wise I have told you that this HDL contains more of protein, less of cholesterol, and LDL has more of cholesterol and less of protein. So you have this low density lipoprotein which is made up of proteins, lipids, and it is having ApoB100 which is the main apoprotein here which will carry this. And HDL cholesterol, it is having more of protein, lipids, and also the apoproteins. Main proteins here would be your ApoE, ApoC, etc. ApoA1, ApoE, ApoC, etc. This would be a good cholesterol which is most often seen in your fruits, vegetables, nuts, berries, etc. and your junk food, your pizzas, your burgers, your french fries, etc. mostly contains your bad cholesterol. So this good cholesterol, it is mainly, the main job of this is to keep our arteries clear and free of plaques, whereas this lethal form of cholesterol, this forms the plaque in our arteries and it will make those arteries very hard and it will reduce the blood supply to the end organs. This is the structure of an HDL cholesterol. You can see here. This is the phospholipid layer, and this is the apoproteins here. This is the cholesterol and triglycerides inside. You can see it has more of a proteins, whereas LDL, it has more of cholesterol here and less of protein here. And size-wise also this is bigger. the LDL, and protein composition is also less compared to that of the HDL, and more of a cholesterol here. Whenever we see a lipid profile, we expect that the cholesterol is less than 200 milligram per deciliter. Borderline would be anything from 200 to 239. If it is more than 240, it is high risk. Triglyceride should be less than 150 milligram per deciliter. 150 to 199, it is borderline, and more than 200 to 499 is high. HDL, we expect it to be more than 60. If it is less than 35 milligram per deciliter, it is high risk. LDL, it should be less than 100 milligram per deciliter. If it is more than 190 milligram per deciliter, it is high risk. And the cholesterol to HDL ratio, the desirable range would be around 4. If the ratio increases to 6, that means your cholesterol will be more, so it will be high risk. So here you can see this is HDL cholesterol, and this inside the vessel, it is not allowing any plaques to remain. It is clearing up the way. And this same thing here, you can see the LDL cholesterol, it is creating these plaques and it is narrowing. Hence it is starting this process of atherosclerosis, stenosis, etc. So that is why this is called as the bad cholesterol. So this is a good cholesterol. It is a good COP. So it is having various functions like anti-inflammatory, it is vasoprotective, it is having anti-apoptotic effects, it is having anti-atherogenic effect, it inhibits the platelet aggregation, it produces the nitric oxide, hence it will prevent the aggregation of platelet, thrombus formation, it prevents the oxidation of LDL, and it will help in the reverse transport of this cholesterol, chylomicrons, etc. from peripheral tissues to the liver. So this is a good COP, or the good cholesterol. So to summarize, what would be the difference between an LDL and an HDL? LDL is low density lipoprotein, HDL is high density lipoprotein. LDL is also called as bad cholesterol because it transports cholesterol to our arteries, where it can accumulate if it is in excess, and it can narrow down the blood vessels. Whereas good cholesterol is your HDL because it transports cholesterol to our liver so that the cholesterol can be expelled from the body. The LDL, it is around 18 to 25 nanometer. It is slightly bigger compared to that of the HDL. HDL is smaller, it is compact, it is around 10 nanometer in diameter. So this LDL, 50% of the weight of LDL is cholesterol and 25% would be your protein. Whereas in HDL, 50% would be your protein and 20% would be your cholesterol. The LDL has a apoprotein called as ApoB100, which is very important for the transport of this LDL to bind the LDL to the LDL receptors to transport the cholesterol from the LDL to the tissues. We need this ApoB100, whereas HDL mainly contains this ApoA1, ApoA2, ApoE, ApoC proteins. The density of LDL would be anything between 1.019 to 1.063, and it is relatively less dense compared to the HDL, whereas HDL, it is highly dense, so that's why it is having a density between 1.063 to 1.210, and it is relatively denser compared to that of the LDL. So the LDL, which will deliver cholesterol to the tissue. HDL, it will help in collecting the extra cholesterol, etc., whatever remnants are there, to collect it from the blood, and it will bring it to the liver. Higher amounts of LDL leaves cholesterol to the artery wall, causing atherosclerosis, whereas higher amount of HDL is important as it lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease because it clears up whatever remaining cholesterol, etc., are present in the peripheral tissues, blood vessels, etc. So LDL particles are considered to be more pro-atherogenic. They start the process of atherogenesis, whereas HDL is considered to be anti-atherogenic. LDL particles are more susceptible to oxidation, and once they are oxidized, their structure and their function changes, and these oxidized LDL are more dangerous. They are the ones which will start this atherosclerotic process. They get deposited in the foam macrophages and form the foam cells. HDL particles, they have antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-thrombotic property and also anti-apoptotic properties. Hence, they will prevent the formation of these plaques. to help lower the HDL, we will have to avoid foods which are rich in saturated fat, dietary cholesterol, etc. Increase calories, increase exercise, physical activity. Similarly, when we have to increase the HDL, we have to avoid intake of extra calories, avoid saturated fat, exercise, have more of fruits, vegetable, antioxidants, etc., which can increase the HDL level. To increase the HDL, we want a higher level of HDL. Again, we will have to avoid saturated fat intake, we will have to exercise well, we will have to decrease our body weight, consume foods which are rich in HDL. So these were few of the differences between HDL and LDL. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you.